And we're back with our Let's Play of Obduction. Last time we had a grand old time riding the rails. Some of it was fun, some of it wasn't. Well, the parts that weren't were kind of sad, but I don't know. Well, let's talk to CW. We've explored the wall, and that was fun, I guess. Apparently it just loops around back. Weird.
Farley would bust hearing me spout this. I really don't get it. Regardless of what it sounds like, we need all of it to be, well, healthy. All of it. Shoot, I'll spell it out for you. You gotta get down below the tree to the heart, connect it all back up.
Well, I already plugged that thing in preemptively because it seemed like an important thing to plug in. You know? That's just adventure game logic for you. We don't know what this button does. Let's push it until we find out what happens. Anyways, we should probably use that code we got for Farley's lock code. If you recall, a note said that her code should be her address backwards. So 1436 becomes 6341. So let's test that out. Just as soon as we get back there. Still having to focus what that tower is. Sounds pretty cool, whatever those sounds are. Probably don't want to poke it though. Alright, here we are. 6, 3, 4, 1. There we go. Let's just get this unlocked for the sake of it. There we go. Here's that note. But warning us about the thing, and well, there seems to be quite a bit of documents in here, so let's check them out. Okay, that's a thing, I guess. Here's a map of town with junkyard over past this section of the wall. Tower on the wall. Farley's right. Wait. Wait. Ah, the old Rivenese gambit. Classic. Alright, that. Oh. Fat lot of good that did. What else is here? Projector seems cool enough. Seemed this section of the wall away from the bridge is something important. What's important about it? Here's another slide. Don't know what that is. Hold on. Presumably this is important. We can just line it up. Okay, just take a photo of that, because why not? And let's get to reading. I shall document the curious events that have transpired with myself, my family, friends, and co-workers. Hartnell is a peaceful mining town founded by my grandfather and nestled within the red rock of the desert in the Arizona Territory. Its 163 inhabitants heard a mighty explosion on the night of June 27, 1903. I sent several workers through the town to verify that the explosion did not cause any injuries or damage to mining equipment. They returned then reported that there must have been a loud clap of thunder caused by dry lightning, for they found no damage. It was not until the night of the next morning that we were amazed to see realize something profound had indeed occurred. At some point that night, the entire mining facility and a large circle of land around it seemed to have been scooped up and carried off into a completely different place, all without anyone knowing about it. Okay. What next? Old paper. Gotta be careful with it, don't want to tear it. The entire landscape outside of our circle of desert can only be described as alien. Large floating rocks could be seen in the distance. No one had ever seen anything like it anywhere on Earth. We fully explored our new surroundings, hoping to find a way home. No way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered what we take for granted now. Not only could we not get back home, we also could not access the landscape outside the desert. Curiously, we discovered that a flow of water was provided from a high point in rock. And we discovered a small tree growing on the very center of the circle. Our central tree that's so important to our lives here was just a mere sapling back then. Okay, what's the big deal about the big tree? More notes. Species description. Legal pad. Premium means quality. Hopefully it does. Mofang. Through ambassador seeds, the Mofang were the first non-human species humans were introduced to. An Liang was the first to call the alien a Mofang. Of course we got aliens floating rocks and stuff. Impressed with their advanced ability to imitate our sounds, movements, and mannerisms. Although they have a name for themselves, their language is mostly unpronounceable by humans. As a result, and because of their mimicry abilities, communication with the Mofang is primarily accomplished by their learning human language rather than humans learning to speak Mofang. They have been able to learn almost every human language represented in Hunraf enough to provide functional, if rudimentary, communication. The Mofang basic external morphology is remarkably humanoid. Bilateral symmetrical tetrapods, bipedal, head with anterior facial features, mouth, eyes, nostrils. Don't know why the mouse in quotes. Other external features include minimal body hair and raised dorsal protrusions. Constitution is somewhat frail due apparently to their thin and lightweight internal structure, but internal investigation has not been possible. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get an autopsy of your neighbors, especially when they're at war with you. They have ample cranial space to account for a substantial brain, and their intelligence is impressive as evidenced by their advanced technology. Weird. Awry. As in awry tie. After a certain level of maturity and health of the tree, a passage opened at its base. This passage allowed contact with two additional species. The first contact was with the awry. The first contact revealed the awry to be large beetle-like insects. Well, I've seen them. We were unable to communicate directly with them in any way, but they appeared to have some rudimentary level of intelligence. It was Laurent Toff who first made the journey through the heart to Captar, and named both the New World and the inhabitants. The Uri have three distinct variants that have become to be referred to as barnacle, beetle, and polyarch. Although their morphology is dramatically different from human, their internal systems, like all of our neighbors, are supported by similar atmospheric composition and basic nutrients. In their barnacle state, the Uri are completely immobile. Seen some of those too. The Uri stay in this egg-like development state seemingly indefinitely. In order to hatch, they must be in proximity to a polyarch and fertilized by the beetles after a certain stage of maturity. The beetles are the eyes and ears, hands and feet. With only a minimal nervous system of their own, they are essentially the sensory extensions of the immobile polyarchs. They are able to execute simple commands, but apparently have very little in the way of individual sentience. Okay. The Uri polyarchs are the intelligence and consciousness of the species. The old brain bug. Hopefully they're more friendly than the ones from Starship Troopers. Although it was obvious that there was intelligence behind the species, it wasn't until Caroline Farley began spending large amounts of time in close proximity that deeper communication began. With a room nearby, Farley was the first to communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some historical information. The Uri species survived in their home world while several other sentient species came and went. Among them, an ancient species who formed a deeper relationship with the Uri, carving temples and dwellings for them into rocks, and later a more recent species that took over much of their home world. This latter species was essentially adept at mechanical construction, using it mostly to capture and process large flying creatures, using the beetles as bait. Okay. Villain. The final species to be discovered were the Villain. The Villain had been communicating with the Uri for many years through ambassador seeds, but became part of the large community very shortly after the Uri. With a large and imposing frame and a form of communication based on a complex, multi-voice, low-frequency rumble, the initial introductions were intimidating. After several attempts, Amelie Vidal was able to begin some rudimentary communication and began visiting the Villain in Marais, which she named, on a regular basis. She discovered a complex and amazing society that was able to use their technology in unexpected ways. They had the ability to transform their world using extruded structures based on some form of complex miniature substrate material. They got nanomachines, son? Unlike the other worlds, the Villain sphere is scooped out of a Villain resettlement group that was preparing to set off into space to find a new homeworld. This was their way of life, to put themselves into stasis and to guard themselves through the stars. As mentioned previously, their appearance is imposing, standing about 9 feet tall with a distinct reptilian appearance. They have 6 limbs, 2 muscular legs and arms, and a smaller set of arms. They control every aspect of their technology with their vocalizations, but over the years they have created control panels based on their number system that allow other species to easier access elements of their technology. Ooh, that's a beefy boy. Oh, wrong book, I'm sorry. This book. Communication, talking with our neighbors. We take communication for granted, even with the varied languages we find here in Hunrath. But when we suddenly find ourselves among other intelligent species who don't share a culture, history, DNA, or vocal cords, It requires a huge amount of effort for the writing, beginning of rudimentary chatting. This quick overview will set the stage for what to expect when communicating with our neighbors. Mofang. The Mofang were the first non-humans we met, with at least some level of similar physical vocal generating abilities. They picked up human words quickly. This early mimicry resulted in what the species became to be called. Even though they were able to mimic single words and other simple phrases, it became evident over the years that huge grammatical differences were not easily overcome. Some proposed that the difficulty may have arisen because the Mofang insisted on attempting to learn every human language, and as a result were never able to lock onto any consistent grammatical structure. Nevertheless, in spite of the rudimentary sentence construction, it's been very easy to communicate, and it's been unnecessary for us to learn their language beyond a few simple phrases and proper names. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Mofang, please contact Tam. The Villain have presented a particular communication challenge. From what we can gather, they produce sounds using two large reed-like structures inside opposite sides of their heads. Vibrations generated are channeled through to resonance chambers into their skulls, where they are combined into a complex low-frequency dual tone. The low-frequency bitonal sounds are not only hard for humans to hear and resolve, but also impossible for us to mimic. And the Villain's hearing is also oriented toward low frequency, so they are unable to hear most of the sounds associated with human speech. Therefore, communication with the Villain is relied on the technology they have adapted consoles, which the Villain fluently control vocalization, for use by other species. Over the years, some individuals of other species, including a few humans, have learned to communicate very effectively using this method. Humans have been able to pick out some higher frequency characteristics of certain key Villain words over the years. And although we can't speak to them in a way that the Villains can understand, we are occasionally able to hear and recognize these words when spoken distinctly by the Villain. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Villains, please contact Vito. Arai. None of the stages of the Arai morphology have any vocalization apparatus. Because of the obvious synchronization of the barnacle flash and the ability of the pawns to provide for and address the needs of the polyarchs, it was assumed that species could communicate effectively. It was not until Farley began to spend large amounts of time in the polyarch antechamber that the first clues of this communication became evident. After months of research, Farley began to have limited success with receiving some kind of simple messages that were coming from the polyarchs. It's apparent now that the polyarchs had been attempting to communicate the entire time, but they themselves had been experimenting with various channels until they finally got a response from Farley. After this breakthrough, others were able to tune into the polyarchs and learn to listen. Both the polyarchs and the pawns have a simple organ that can sense human vocal frequency, enabling them to sense simple responses from humans. But over the years, Farley was able to learn to speak to the polyarchs via a related form of extrasensory transmission. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Arai, please contact Farley. Okay, last one. For this table right here, Seed information. This is what I'd like to know. Ambassador seeds. Ambassador seeds were first documented about 150 Earth years ago. They occur once every 400 days, and if the trees remain healthy, natural seed swaps occur between pairs of seeds that we now know drop simultaneously from healthy trees in a paired sphere. When each seed was touched by a species and sphere, the swap occurred, sending an ambassador from each sphere to the paired sphere. The location of the swap is defined by the location of the pairs of seeds. After the first swap, the seeds recharge quickly, allowing for a quick return. First meetings were intense but naturally short. It was quite a surprise for both the Mofang and us. Over time, the seeds required more time to recharge, producing longer visits between species. Collector seeds. Everyone who arrived is familiar with the collector seeds, the bright light that we were all drawn to right before the event that brought us here is the collector seed. What new arrivals may not be aware of is that these seeds, like all seeds, come in pairs. When the tree drops a collector seed on the ground, it signals that its twin has begun its quest for a new being. That search may take hours or it may take years. When an appropriate situation, a natural threat, death, is found, the seed activates and swaps a smaller but varying size sphere from Earth or whatever appropriate homeworld here to Unrath. As Unrath became more populated, we would watch for a newly dropped collector seed, collect it, and place it in the entry canyon area. This allowed us to provide a more predictable entry experience for new arrivers, and provide a single area to collect any resources that may have come along with the new arriver. Unlike ambassador seeds and mother seeds, collector seeds do not seem to survive. The inner core is spent, leaving only the lifeless outer husk. Mother seeds, postulated but unverified, first suggested by Ella Mahamsa, 2232 BH. The notion of mother seeds extrapolates the behavior of the lesser seed into a super seed. She posited that the process that actually created the paired spheres was similar to all other swaps, but on a much grander scale. The idea is that two seeds from a mother tree were scattered onto galactic winds to find appropriately similar environments. When matches were found, some process would trigger that swapped large portions of the landscape between vastly different worlds. I've noticed. Emma further noted that the trees' locations in the center of the sphere suggested that the trees grew from these mother seeds. Because of the similarities, it's been conjectured that reswapping the entire environmental spheres might be possible with a larger scale version of the Ambassador Seed Machine. Okay. Interesting. What's over here? Another book. Yay. Welcome to Unrath. Please give us a bit about information about you so we can get to know you a little better. Name, date you came from, please use 4-digit year. Where you came from, country and city. Circumstances under which you were taken. Please note any dangers you notice. Emptied and filed 12,000 AH, 13,000 AH, 15,000 AH. Samuel Karen, January 2017, Manakara, Madagascar. I just arrived and was driving my supply truck along the coast south of Manakara when I recall being washed away and the seed appeared. 15,257 AH, male, 61. Uziel Regenbogen, 1942, March, Lübeck, Germany. Ooh, so this guy may or may not be a Nazi. Guess he probably learned to coexist by now. Got de-brainwashed or something, hopefully. The last thing I recall is a large rumbling while I was hiding in the cellar of a vacant building. I ran toward a bright light in the stairwell. 15,841 AH, male, 26. Wait. This date is before this date. But this date is way after this date. Maria Gallego, 9 of 1998. 1988, I mean. Cozumel, Mexico, on my boat in bad storm. Been there. Well, just been there, you know. Not on a boat, but you know. 16,023 AH, female, 46. Jang QU, marked to 2042. Like the Battlefield game, I guess. Portland, United States of America, skiing at Mount Hood, 16,717 AH, male, 37. Cool. Alright, one last room. The old conspiracy board. Why not? 1, seed pair. 2, find plants with similar atmospheres. 3, swap. 4, tree from seed. Something about a heart right here. Heart superposition. Heart connected. Path open when mature. Okay. 4 species meet. What happened at fruition? Swap where or home? When? Maybe dead? More seed pairs. Scatter throughout the universe. Why scattering? Hell if I know. Oh my god, it's a plush koala. Hello, you little goober. You're so adorable as you are. These kids have very weird drawings. Of course, they got very weird neighbors, so of course they would have weird drawings. Cassette tape. rewind a bit just to make sure we get the right spot. Come on now.
Well, I feel like I should say something. We haven't heard from Shavar. So, well, should we assume that Shavar, well, that the attack is inevitable? We just don't know when. So, Shavar and her family, and others she trusts, I guess, well, they'll arrive when they can, without giving, like covertly. So the plan will happen, in spite of our we're locking down as much as possible here and moving everybody out. CW will stay here, and I'll go to Murray at the last possible moment. Most are gone. There's just a few left here now. The mayor got out early. I don't even know why I'm recording this. It's like somehow we'll live on or something. I guess this has meaning if someone listens, but who? A new one? A new arriver. Oh, God, the kiosk out front. I need to update that message.
Okay, I think that's enough of that. But the thing about these fancy old cassette tapes, double-sided, baby. Gotta love the power of magnetism. Let's make sure this is rewound all the way. Yep. Play.
We all lost everything. Everything but our stories.
This sounds familiar somehow.
They shouldn't be forgotten. I was 3. It was April of 1983. Cecil, it was 1870 for you. Sam and Vera, you tell it like it was yesterday, but it's been 62 years since you saw that blast of light. And that's where all of our news stories began, that light. It streaked across the sky, mesmerizing, but unnerving. Some of you were alone. I wasn't. My dear grandma, God bless her, rejoiced as if it was some forebearer of good fortune. Vera, you said you recall smiling. None of us understood. But, well, we followed. Whether it was in the deep woods like Cecil or right outside town like Jane and Jenny, we were drawn to see more. Grandma lifted me from the carriage on the porch and walked into the yard so we could watch it unobstructed. Even in daylight, Joseph, you said, was gloriously bright. But in the twilight, it was spellbinding. And we all felt some kind of trepidation, and yet attraction as we approached it, and it approached us. September 3rd, 1995.
I was down by the river.
I was hiking in the desert. In the park with my grandson.
I looked up and saw a
Brilliant flash of light. Exploded in the sky. The light it cleansed the clouds, shined the trees,
and it disappeared. I looked around and,
see if there was anyone around. See if anyone else had seen what I had seen.
there was no one around.
They all saw it too. Mom definitely saw it. Well, it was just beautiful. There was something calming about it.
Yeah, I don't mind telling you, I was kind of freaking out. I tried to follow it, trying to get a better look at it.
I wanted to see it again.
I came to a place where it had disappeared.
Overlooked, but I found nothing. And it streaked through the sky again. It seemed like it was looking for something. Or looking for someone.
And then it found me.
And it found me. Found me.
It found me.
Found me.
Found me. Found me.
It found me.
Okay then. Well, that was entertaining. And we should probably do some other stuff next time.